Hi everyone, I am Mauricio Barrios Castellanos. I am a PhD student of Mechanical Engineering, advised by the Professor Alberto Luiz Serpa and co-advised by the Dr. Jorge Luis Biesusi. I am going to present some advances in my PhD project, specifically referred to the dynamic modeling of ESP system using subspace identification. Our line of research is motivated to trying to understand the dynamic phenomena due to the formation of emulsions and the phase inversions. These phenomena generate operational instabilities in the dynamic of the pumping systems. To manage these instabilities, the identification of the system's dynamics and the development of automatic control systems are proposed. I am following this summary. First, a brief introduction of the work. Next, a description of the dynamic of the systems. After the procedure developed to perform the subspace identifications, an explanation of the differential equation of the systems. Next, the development of the system adjuncts, fitting and verification of the system, and finally some results. The main objective of this research is propose and evaluate damage uptime control strategies in electrical submergible pumps systems subject to oil-water flow, capable to tolerating the formation of emulsions and the intermittent flow patterns. The specific proposed consists of modeling the pump systems subject to a disturbance, here like damage and perturbations. These damage, these perturbations are produced by the effects of the phase inversions, change, and the emulsions. Based on the response of the systems, control actions must be taken that are capable to returning the system to a stable state. To adequately control, the following specific steps are proposed to achieve the main objective. First, a simulation of the pump operating from a different liquid flow conditions on an experimental bench. Next, induction of emulsion in the pump emulating the disturbance. After, the identification of the operational variables that best represents the behavior of the systems. After, develop an offline control strategy that allows the system operator to make control decisions. Develop a damage detection strategy to operate the pump based on the monitoring of operational variables. Carry out a validation of the controller developed and in the experimental bench. So, for this, experimental tests of ESP operating in different conditions of two-phase liquid flow are developed. For this work, specifically dynamic experiments. First, water and oil are in a tank where it is separated by decantations. This mixture passes through the booster pump, a heat exchanger, and the water cube measurement instrument. Then the mixtures go to the ESP and the choke valve and came back to the tank. So in our case, we treated the transient state single phase experiments, considering a series of flow rates between 20 and 60 cubic meters per second. The opening of the choke valve can vary between 0 and 100%, and the speed of the pump varies between 0 and 3,500 revolutions per minute. So as you can see, when the operating range decreases with higher flow rate, the pump inlet pressures tends to the capitation point and the discharge pressures tend to operational limit of the experimental bench. In this figure, we observe the response of the system considering two variables, P1 as the inlet pressures and P9 as the outlet pressures. The system is subject to the variation of angular velocity or angular rotation in red that goes from 200 to the 5264 radians per second. The decrease of inlet pressures and a slight increase in the outlet pressure can be observed. The speed variation is given by the ramp entrance with a small incline. It is observed that the stabilization time varies to the variable analyzed. Here we have a small overshoot, while in this case the system stabilization without overshoots. We could consider this type of behavior as approximately linear behavior. However, it depends on the analyzing operation point. So the proposed hypothesis is that it is possible to model the systems as a state of space system or a series of coupled state of space system. Such system will have a control variables as the choke valve and the rotation of the pump. The water queue and the reservoir pressure are modeled as disturbance. Measurable outputs are the pump inlet pressure, the differential pressure, and the pump inlet temperature. And non-measurable output variables are the flow rate and the mechanical torque. The procedure for subsystem identification consists of the simulation of the dynamical system on an experimental bench, the pre-process of the data, the adjustment of the system to a state space system by a computational method N4SIT. The subspace system consists of a state vector X, a state matrix A, an input vector U, an input matrix B, an output matrix C, and a forward transmission matrix or direct transmission matrix D. The behavior of the system is simulated and compared with data which is fitted, and finally with data that corresponding to another experiment. Therefore, to simulate the state of space system, we need the differential equations. The known differential equation of this system consists of a differential equations that determines the behavior of the pump subject to a single phase flow, which has the influence of the rotation, the flow rate, and the differential pressure of the pump. The linear equations that represents the pressure balance equation of the pump outlet consider the influence of the opening of the choke valve and the pressure losses due to the friction of the pipe. The inlet pressure is determined by the pressure losses in the inlet pipe and the reservoir influence, which in our case is the pressure generated by the positive displacement pump, named as a booster pump. This equation have terms that determine the behavior of the system, and these terms are nonlinear terms like this. Actually, the choke valve represents a non-linear input behavior, which can be linearized considering as an input the function if, that is that. The first step in modeling the system is to determine the order of the system, using N4SIT to determine the system matrix A, B, C, and D. Tests were performed with systems of a different order evaluating the Pearson correlation coefficient between the identified system and the experimental data. It is observed for the system of 4 order here, the Pearson correlation coefficient gets a maximum. That is, there is a good correlation between the identified system in order 4 and the experimental data. Subsequently, the correlation decreases and increases again, tending to overfit system. Therefore, the order of the system is selected as 4. The variables selected to model the subspace system are: as the stable space vector, we have the pump inlet pressure, the pump output pressure, the flow rate, and the square of the flow rate. At input variables of input vector, we have a function of the choke valve opening and the rotation of the pump. So here we have our state of space subsystem. For earth separate experiment, the system is adjusted using enforced methods. In this figure, we can observe the adjustment of a system considering the output pressure at the output of the system, and the input variables as the rotation of the pump and the choke opening. The adjusted system presents a similar behavior of the experimental data. The system obtained to this experiment as also has the best behavior when tested with other experiments. Here we have the Pearson correlation coefficient evaluated in different identified systems. The experiment carried out in total were 74 experiments, so in fact we have 74 identified systems. Each experiment contained between 2 or 3 variations of the choke valve opening and the rotation of the pump. The matrices A, B, C, and D are adjusted for each of the experiments. Every matrix set is an identified system. For each of these identified systems, it is possible to predict their behavior when subject to the input condition of the other experiments. For example, if we take the number 50 here, it is considered as the system identified with experiment 50 here, and the horizontal line, represents the Pearson correlation between the system when subject to the operational condition of all experiments here. So this line represents the Pearson correlation of the system identified by the experiment 50 subject to the operational condition of all systems. This diagonal line of this figure represents the Pearson correlation coefficient of the system of each system compared of each of the experimental data with which was identified. Each horizontal line represents the performance of a system identified subject to the entire operational range. So note that a good part of the identified system here, this part, presents a Pearson correlation coefficient over the 80%, even when compared with other experiments. After to evaluate the Pearson correlation of the all identified system with the entire operational range, we selected the best identified system to test with another experiments. Here we can see the behavior of the selected system in other differential operational conditions. In the figure on the left, the system has a behavior similar to the operational performance, although with some small variation here and here. On the other hand, in the system of the right, the behavior of the system fits experimental data more precisely. So, some concluding remarks of this work is: a fourth-order system adequately models the behavior of the single-phase pumping system. It is possible to approximate the system to a linear behavior within a certain range of operation. Here, the bibliography used, the literature review used in this presentation. I would like to thank to the Equinor, the PAPESP, the EMP, the Mechanical Engineering Faculty of Unicamp, CEPETRO, and Unicamp. Thanks for your attention.